episode 76 of the podcast. This week we're talking about helping owners during the coronavirus. We'll talk about what they may be facing with their dogs right now and the kind of information that we can offer them to help all of us get through this together. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Newmeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, a certified professional dog trainer, and the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry that the podcast is a day late. Just had to get a bunch of things done. I know we're all stuck in our homes, and sometimes it's kind of hard to get the energy to have a really good podcast and something really, really positive when we're all sitting at home being so nervous because the world has been turned upside down. But I think we can all agree that this is a stressful time and that we're seeing some changes in our business. Now, I shut down my house call grooming and in-home training, and it was my choice. Wasn't an easy choice, but it was my choice. Some of you are still open because you provide medical services or pet sitting or boarding or you sell supplies. And please, please be safe. But even if you're open, you're still going to be having problems with people who are staying home, not spending money. They're stressed about money. They're not coming to you and spending much. So all of us right now are seeing this income go down. We're all getting a little bit worried. But I want you to think that this is a good time for us as animal professionals to support the customers and the dog owners. Okay, I want you to think they're home with a dog who may need a professional grooming, that now they can't take them someplace. And maybe they're the people who haven't taken us very seriously when we've said, you need to brush your dog, or you should be able to do this at home. Please work on this. He should allow you to do these things. And now they're in a position where they're not able to have us do it for them. Where they're not able to say, oh, you know what? It's gotten too much. I'm just going to go ahead and give a call and see when they can get them in, right? It's not available for them. So they're starting to see the training issues that we've talked about. Now, I want you to think that they're beginning to understand why things like he doesn't let me at home is a big red flag to us. I say us because I think most of you guys have heard me talking about things like you should be able to touch your dog. I'm always trying to advocate for owners to do more, to be more comfortable with it. I want them to get their dog professionally groomed because you know what? I like grooming. But I think that most groomers have a skill set that owners don't have, and they can do a beautiful job that owners can't do. But owners should be able to keep their dog clean. That's just, a fact as far as I'm concerned. They should be able to keep their dog clean and healthy during a global pandemic. So hopefully they're working on it and trying at home. But many of these people didn't understand why things like he doesn't let me was a big red flag to us. And now they're trying to, maybe clean around the eyes, right? Which such a common one. So now they're at home and they're like, they're trying to clean around the eyes with a history of their dog doesn't let them. I just bring him in. And I want you to think about how for them, this is coming back to bite them in the backside. Right? And we shouldn't be here saying, told you so. We don't want to be that dude, right? I want you to think that this is the time to give them some instructions. Introduce them to some good practices and be available to answer their questions because they're going to remember that you helped. They're going to appreciate it. And they're going to be back. When this all blows over, right? Things are going to go back to normal eventually. Our customers are still going to want to have their dogs groomed by a professional. And I'll tell you, there have been plenty of times where someone asked me, like, can you teach me how to groom my own dog? I really want to know how to do it. And then later decided, yeah, that's a lot of work. Maybe I don't want to do it on my own. So teaching them and helping them understand it, you're not going to lose a customer. So for instance, I made a quick little video for my own customers. I just wanted it to be kind of generic, kind of about brushing, right? I added a part about just getting comfortable with touching your dog everywhere, getting the dog used to it, getting them being touched on their feet, on their head, right? And then I also started talking about stuffing things on your coffee table, and teaching them about being touched with the coaster. I think I used the coaster, a mouse on the mouse from my computer, and a pair of reading glasses. As my examples. Oh, and crochet cotton. Yeah. I just grabbed some stuff off the coffee table. I sat on my floor. I made it really, really, relaxed. Because as soon as we start saying, well, this is how you should do it, and we have a dog on a grooming table, a lot of our owners are just, oh gosh, I don't have a grooming table. I don't have this equipment. Sit on the floor. Make it like this kind of intimate video. You're just talking to people at home, from your home, okay? Now, my own video was short and goofy. What, Chrissy, you goofy? I know, right? But it was generic. It was to help as many people as I could. And I told them, you know what? I'm available for online consultations and lessons, as well as just answering a few of your questions. But I'm available to talk to you online as face-to-face as we can get during this time. And I want you to be thinking about how that's helping my owners by just showing up. Tell them you're here, okay? I want you to think about you're encouraging them to try stuff on their own. Let the owners see your smiling face, that you're helpful, that you're going to be there for them, that you get it, that you understand that this is not easy for them, and just go ahead and, think about what your particular customers might be experiencing right now. Now, I also made my video something that they could share. I'm like, go ahead and share it. If you think somebody needs some help with some brushing, go ahead and share it. I would like for each of you to make your own for your own customers. But even if you are not comfortable doing video of yourself, you can share one of the many videos that are out there. I know a lot of people have been making videos right now to help with that. And they're all saying, go ahead and share it. So your customers are still going to remember that you tried to find resources to help them. And even though this is a terrible time, and there's so much going on, and so many people are worried about how they're even going to pay their bills, never mind like if their dog's toenails need to be done. But I want you to think about making this a time to support your customers, a time of giving, and a time of helping. So in the next part, I'm going to talk about some of the things that I think you should cover on like a video, or, maybe it's an email that you send out, but some way of reaching out to your customers and the kind of things that you can cover for them to help them during this so that their dog doesn't turn into a super long-toed matted mess. If you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes, and tell all of your friends. When we reach out to our customers, whether it be through a video or through sending an email or just texting, we can talk about some key things. Some of the things that I think owners need to know about trying to do stuff at home with their dog are things like take it slow. A lot of owners are like, oh, it's time to do this and let's get it done, right? The dog lives with them. So many people are home right now. So unless they're in the medical field and they're working, double time right now, most people can have enough time to just do small little bursts. Take it slow. If we can get a bunch of repetitions in today, tomorrow's going to be easier. Maybe we can get it done tomorrow. Just give them the idea that right, I don't need to get it all done right now. Another thing that we can get them used to is the idea that we can make this pleasant. Make it pleasant, right? Just relax with your dog, hang out with your dog, make it part of your snuggle times, whatever it is that it has to happen, make it as pleasant as you can. Now, we can also mention that don't try to do everything at once. There's nothing in there that says you have to do both eyes right now, right? I think a lot of our owners start thinking that way. Just do a little bit. circle back, do a little bit, circle back. Like make it as pleasant as you can, do a little bit. You don't have to get it all entirely done. If your dog's being really good and you give him a break, that's okay. You can do another repetition. It's also a good time to start talking to customers about things like calm, comfortable, and cooperative, what I call our 3Cs. You want the dog to be calm, because a calm dog isn't jumping around and wiggling or trying to escape. Help them be calm. Help them relax. We want them to be comfortable. And that could be, for an older dog, letting them lay down or letting them sit or, whatever it is that helps that particular dog be comfortable. As an example, if I want one of my guys to be comfortable, I put him on the rug so that his bum doesn't slip while he's trying to, or his feet don't slip while we're trying to do something. Something as simple as bringing your dog to the rug and they have better footing can make them comfortable. So help our customers understand that calm, relaxed, comfortable, right? Physically able to handle it, and then also cooperative. We want the dog to be able to interact with us and allow us to do it. So instead of trying to force it or make it happen, I want owners to, especially owners, to be thinking about, what, can you just relax for me and let me get the thing done? Can you relax for me? Can you let me do it? Because if we're in a let me get it done, let me do this thing, allow me to do this, please be calm while I do this, right, is going to help them make progress. Wrestling dogs down and clamping down harder on them is kind of a natural response for our owners, and it creates more fighting from our dogs. Forcing it is not going to help our owners. So it's one of the things we can talk to them about if you are trying to figure out what you want to say to your customers. All right. Now, another thing that I like to tell my customers is that my dogs like it when I brush them. Not because they necessarily like brushing. Brushing's pleasant. It's not particularly unpleasant, but because I've taken the time to make that bonding time with my dog. I'm sitting there with my dog, we're goofing off. There's some snuggling, there's some brushing, maybe a little bit of playing, and I want owners to think that this is a time to bond with their dog. So if I bring out the brush and I'm brushing one of my guys, the other guy's coming over and is interested. And I've had a number of owners think that that was really surprising. But it's because, you know what? The dog that's in mom's hands is having a good time. And right after being brushed feels good. So, and I'll tell you, while I don't groom cats anymore, I used to have my kitties. And when I worked in a shop, I groomed a lot of cats, but I can't be everything to everyone. And house call grooming for cats is something I don't want to try again. I've got enough on my plate with everything else that I do. So I don't do the cats anymore. But my own cats liked being brushed. And I'll tell you a quick story. One of my kitties, she came to me. I adopted her at about 9 years old, and she lived to be 18. She didn't know what brushing was. She pretty quickly figured out, oh, this feels nice. And if I was brushing the dog, she'd be rubbing against the dog, waiting for her turn to get brushed. If the brush was on the floor, she was rubbing up against on the floor and trying to meow to get my attention, so I would come over and brush her. That's a cat who had a fear of brushing, right? So I want you to think, if we make it enjoyable and we spend time bonding with them and we're making it pleasant, sometimes they reach a point where they're like, you know what, that brush feels great, right? My dogs like being brushed. So sometimes if we talk to owners about, spending the time bonding with the dog, maybe start during snuggle time, right? You're sitting on the couch anyway. Maybe just make sure that you've got brushes and tools available on the coffee table, something within pretty easy reach, and just make it part of, hey, while we're snuggling here on the sofa, I'm going to go ahead and brush this area of your body that you're not worried about. That area could be a shoulder. Maybe it's not the tangle you need to take out, but get them used to the idea that, yeah, sometimes I just run a brush over you while we snuggle. Now, we can also talk about helping owners if their dog is just not used to them doing anything like this, to just start off with touching. Just get their dog used to touching everywhere. Maybe that's having them stand up. Maybe that's sitting on the floor with them, or while you're on the sofa together. Getting used to being touched everywhere and making it this pleasant, relaxed, like, oh, hey, I'm going to touch here, I'm going to touch here. And here's your hock. There's your back paw. Let's go another back paw. That's the kind of stuff that I encourage my owners to do. And I encourage it every time that the dog's out in the rain or in the mud or in the snow and they have to get wiped off with a towel. I think most of us have times where a dog just needs to be wiped down. So we should be making those opportunities into training opportunities. Like, okay, I'm going to touch you everywhere. Everything's going to be great. So I want you to think about getting people used to just touching everything on their dog. Everything, and you're the owner, so there's no spot that you shouldn't touch, right? You should be able to clean bums. You should be able to wipe down a willy, right? So we got to tell our owners, some of our owners need to be brave, right? Now, if they've gotten their dog used to being touched by them, but the dog's not used to being brushed, we can also move on to touching with stuff that isn't grooming equipment. Now, the reason why I make that step is because I think a lot of owners, as soon as they have a brush in their hand, start brushing. Well, of course they do. It makes sense, doesn't it? But I want them instead to think, I need to have this half step before we start brushing of just touching you with the things. And what I encourage my owners to do is to take stuff off the coffee table. Take stuff off a shelf, right? Just some random object, right? Right now, I'm looking at my coffee table and I've got some craft stuff. I've got remote controls. I've got jar candles. I've got a Kindle. You think about it, there's so much stuff. I've got a tissue box. I could run a tissue box over my dog, but just something that's an object, something that's going to touch them all over and make that normal before you're actually trying to brush. Because nobody looks at a coaster and knows exactly how they're going to use it on their dog, right? They just touch them all over with it without the expectation of, now I need to pull on mats. But once you have a brush in their hand or a comb in their hand, they start pulling and yanking. So let's start off with the just touching with stuff. And that's important. Now, one of the examples I give my owners, and I'll give this example to you guys, is that breaking it down into smaller pieces is a little bit like watching kids play t-ball. It's not a full baseball game yet. And the importance of that is because you need some skills before you can play a full-on baseball game. Not that I'm a sports fan at all, but I can relate to this one, so I think most people can. But little kids need to learn how to throw before they can pitch a ball to a batter, right? They need to be able to catch. They need to be able to throw. And then they need to learn how to hit a ball, which is where the tee comes in, right? So the ball is resting on top of something, and they hit a ball that's not moving. So there's no need for a kid to pitch. And there's no need for a batter to know how to hit a ball that's moving yet. Because otherwise, it's just a whole bunch of ground balls and a bunch of kids going nowhere. So we have this half step where they're learning about it. And then eventually you start adding a ball that's moving that you now have to hit with the bat. So by breaking it up into smaller pieces, you are still working toward the end goal. So touching a dog all over and touching them all over with random objects is sort of like t-ball, right? Those random objects are not yet pulling on fur. Those random objects are not yet making any sort of a vibration. Those random objects are not yet making a big sound, right? So we can build on the skills of, oh yeah, sure, I'm totally comfortable with someone running a remote control over my leg. Why not? So these are some of the things that you guys can share with your own customers and be thinking about the ways that we can help them while they are at home. While they're at home, while they don't have grooming services available to them. Because even if you are open right now for selling pet food or pet care, or maybe it's boarding that you're doing, or you're part of the veterinary medical field, you're probably not taking in like the average nail trim, right? And most owners aren't trying to get those services right now. Everybody's trying to stay inside and just keep this virus at bay. So the more we can help them, they're going to remember us. They're going to remember where they got the advice. They're going to remember who cared enough to answer their questions. They're going to remember if you sent some information back. They're going to remember if you talked to them and said, okay, I really know what makes Fluffy Jojo Pumpkinhead tick, and your particular dog doesn't like XYZ and handles this instead, right? Fluffy Jojo Pumpkinhead is the dog name that my husband wants me to use in all of my handouts. I think it's a little wordy, but it is really cute. So I told him I'd use it on the podcast. Fluffy Jojo Pumpkinhead. Although I did have somebody contact me who has a dog named Pumpkin Spice Gucci. So not all that different from Fluffy Jojo Pumpkinhead. But I want you to think, if we're able to really address them and say, oh yeah, I know your dog, and let me tell you what I think would work really well for you guys while you're at home to help your dog stay in a pretty reasonable condition before we can go ahead and do a full groom. And also, it's okay for us to start showing them pictures of what a really, really short trim is going to look like. In fact, I started looking around for some pictures of doodles with like a really, really short cut, so that I can get a couple of my owners really thinking about it. Like, okay, I'd like for you to try some brushing. I'd like you to be able to, work on this. And if not, it's not the end of the world. This is one of the trims that we can do as a do-over when we reach that point. So be aware that customers are going to have questions. Customers are going to be having trouble at home. Not a good time to gloat, even though sometimes I know we've all had customers who are like, really? He did what to you? I can't imagine, But it's not the time. Let's just make sure that people are getting the information that they need and that they feel supported, so that they come back to our businesses when this is all over, and that they tell their friends to come back to our businesses once this is over. And once this is over, we can all get back to work. I know right now I just miss those puppies. Really miss those puppies. So this week's action step is for all of us to come up with some sort of educational materials for our owners. Video, maybe it's an email, maybe you call them, but come up with something that tells them you're thinking about them, you're here for their questions, and you want to help. Everybody, have a great week and stay curious. If you'd like more information, you can find me at Chrissy@happycritters.net, happycrittersdogtraining.com, or you can join the Facebook group Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast, or the Facebook page Creating Great Grooming Dogs. I really look forward to hearing from you. If you're ready to go beyond the podcast, and I hope you do, I've made it really easy for you. If you go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step, you'll see all of the options. There's the Scholar Lounge community, there's the Modern Grooming Professional certification, there's Master Canine Stylist and Professional Canine Stylist diploma testings, there's the Behavior Lab for coaching and private one-on-one sessions with me, and of course the Master Groomer Behavior Specialist program. So go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step.